tomorrow landing at Brazos River Charter School and bring you to This Week in History. And yes, I'm all alone again, as just about any teacher is right about now. Specifically for the week of March 29th through April the 4th. Well, let's see. Today, you might remember from last week, I introduced you to this couple. This is Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg on March 29th of 1951 were found guilty of conspiracy to commit espionage. They were sentenced to death several days later, and they were executed in 1953. Both of them were members of the Communist Party USA. Their trial was not exactly by the book, but there's also not really any doubt that they were guilty either. Ethel had a brother who worked as a machinist in Los Alamos, New Mexico, which is where the Manhattan Project, who developed the atomic bomb, a large part of it had taken place. He would pass information on to her. Julius apparently had contacts amongst the Soviets, so there's how it went down. Now, they set a number of firsts. They were the first civilians to be convicted of espionage, the first to be sentenced to death during peacetime, the first to be executed during peacetime, the only husband and wife ever to be executed in the United States, and Ethel was the first woman to have been executed in the United States since 1865. Mary Surratt was involved in the Lincoln assassination conspiracy in 1865, so a number of firsts for the Rosenbergs. Well, let's see, what else do we have then? If I can find my little, okay, there we go. Mr. Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens died March 31st of 1980. Jesse Owens was a fantastic athlete. Most of you know his fame for winning 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics in 1936. This is Mr. Owens and his gold medals. There's also been a very famous story that he was snubbed by Hitler, that when he was to be awarded his medal, one of his medals, Hitler got up and walked out of the stadium. There is absolutely no proof of any truth to that whatsoever. One thing about Owens himself never actually mentioned it, and we do know that Hitler was only in the stadium on a few select times. He didn't stay there very long on any one of those times, and none of them happened to be when Owens was receiving a medal. The only sport Hitler seemed to have any interest in whatsoever was rowing. So, now he did say, Owens, that he did feel snubbed by someone else, though, and that was President Franklin Roosevelt. He said he never received a single phone call or a thank you note or congratulations or anything else for the fact that not only did he win 4 gold medals, but if I remember right, I think he set a new world record during the 1936 Olympics. This man was an amazing athlete. When he was on the track team at Ohio State, he tied one world record and set 3 new ones, all in 45 minutes, which would be a very nice career for most folks. But 45 minutes, it's absolutely amazing. So there you go, Mr. Jesse Owens. March 30th, 1981, the attempted assassination of President Reagan occurred. John Hinckley had a very long record of being mentally disturbed. He attempted to kill the president, apparently hoping to impress the actress Jodie Foster, with whom he was obsessed. The seriousness of how badly Reagan was injured was not known for some time until after his surgery, etc., but he was in pretty bad shape. Hinckley himself was found not guilty by reason of insanity, but he was confined to an asylum. He was released in 2016 into the custody of his mother, and he is very closely watched. That trial actually convinced Congress and a lot of the state legislatures to rewrite their laws regarding the insanity defense. Now, in full disclosure, I will admit I am a fan of Ronald Reagan. I always have been. But I don't want to talk politics. His sense of humor was something that I always found to be just fascinating. While he was lying on the table, there to be operated on, he reached up and grabbed the mask and pulled it off of his face and looked at the lead surgeon and said, you are a Republican. The man, who actually was a liberal Democrat, smiled at him, nodded, and gestured to the rest of the team that was in the room and said, today, Mr. President, we're all Republicans. In 1984, Reagan was running for re-election against former Vice President Walter Mondale. Now, a question was brought up about Reagan's age, and whether at his age he was up to the job of being president. And Reagan absolutely assured them that it was not a problem whatsoever. He felt fine. And furthermore, he pledged not to make age an issue in the election. He promised not to bring up his opponent's youth and inexperience. The 56-year-old Walter Mondale, as you can tell, had quite a laugh out of that one, as did everybody else. I think if you make your opponent laugh like that in a debate, you pretty well win it. But anyway, at another point, he was giving a speech, and as he was reading it, somebody in the audience had a balloon, and the balloon popped, and Reagan simply looked up, said, "Missed me," and went right back to his speech immediately without missing a beat. On another occasion, a visitor came to the White House, and the man had a small dog with him. I don't remember why he had the dog, but it was a male dog, and the male dog marked his territory as male dogs tend to do. He hiked his leg on the president's desk. The man was absolutely shocked. He scolded the dog. He apologized to the president. President Reagan looked at him and said, "Don't worry about it. Democrats come in here and do that all the time." He also famously, the jar of jelly beans, very, very famously would pass this around before meetings would start. Reagan used a little bit of Jellybean psychology, I think. He said you could always tell a lot about a person by the way they ate jelly beans. If they just simply poured some out and took whatever came, he said that was generally a person that was pretty easy to get along with. If they were really picky as to just one color or a couple, that was somebody to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. So, a little Jellybean psychology there. This photograph was taken literally as President Reagan was leaving the White House to go to his successor's inauguration, George H.W. Bush. Reagan would feed the squirrels outside his office just almost on a daily basis. And on his way out to go get into the limousine, he fed them one more time, and he also supposedly left them a note saying, "Be careful. The next guy has a dog." So there we go. Well, that's it for this week in history, but just to let you know what's coming up, next week we will take a look at the Twinkie. I'm Carl Lanning from Brazos River Charter School, and we look forward to seeing you right here next week.